Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow is the first Castlevania game on the new crop of handhelds, and if you're a fan of the series, you'll definitely want to check this one out. The game stars Soma Cruz, who you probably remember as the hero from Aria of Sorrow on the Game Boy Advance. Soma is basically the next Dracula, except for he isn't evil and he'd rather do his own thing than become the next Dark Lord. Dawn of Sorrow takes place a year after the events in Aria of Sorrow. Soma is just hanging out one day when, out of nowhere, some crazy woman named Celia attacks him. Soma easily fights off the attack and finds out that Celia is actually a high priestess in a new cult that is looking to resurrect Dracula. Since Soma already prevented that from happening once before, the cult tries to put the hit on him before he can foil their plans. Of course, Soma is having none of that, so he heads to the cult's secret base, determined to put a stop to their wicked ways. The cult's base is basically a huge replica of Dracula's castle, complete with all the amenities a Dark Lord could ever need, including a clock tower, an underground cavern, a wizardry lab, and a garden of madness. In true Castleroid style, you're basically dropped on the map and left to make your way through the maze-like halls of the castle, finding power-ups and killing monsters. You start out pretty weak, and for some reason when going to take on an evil cult, Soma only thinks to bring a little knife. That doesn't matter much though, because you'll quickly start earning experience and leveling up, which in turn makes you stronger. You'll also find all kinds of weapons throughout the game, or you can save up your money and buy weapons from the merchant. As you kill guys, you'll also collect souls. You can then equip these souls to get special powers, which really comes in handy. There are more than 100 different monsters in the game, so you'll really have quite an arsenal of powers if you collect them all. Using the souls, you can throw axes, turn into a bat, or even grow a huge tail. It's pretty fun to try out all the combinations to see what special abilities work best on various enemies. Souls can also be used to power up your weapons. You can visit Yoko to have her fuse souls with your weapons, thus creating much more powerful weapons. You can't use the soul though once it's fused with a weapon, so you might want to keep some spare souls handy. If you change your mind though, you can unfuse the soul from the weapon whenever you want. So, what do you do when you aren't fighting dudes and stealing their souls? You draw magic symbols, of course. Drawing magic symbols is one of the unique facets of Castlevania on the DS. When you beat a boss down enough, they'll get weak, and at that point you can quickly trace the magic symbol on the touchscreen. If you do it correctly, the boss will be sealed away forever. If you fail, the boss will regain some health and you'll have to beat him down all over again. It's a bit awkward to transition between the button mashing of a boss fight and drawing symbols on the touchscreen, but luckily the game is pretty forgiving when it comes to your tracing abilities. So if you can't draw a straight line because you're trembling with excitement, you'll still be able to seal away any boss with only 1 or 2 tries. The symbols do get more complex as you play through the game, but they never get too crazy. The touchscreen is also used to break crystal blocks and guide your familiars around, but for the most part this game plays just like any other Castlevania game. Dawn of Sorrow looks a lot like previous Castlevania games, but even better. The backgrounds are finely detailed and they look really cool. The character sprites look great too, and they animate really smoothly. A lot of the enemies you'll see have been in the series from the very beginning, like the totally inept skeletons and those stupid flying Medusa heads. There are some new bad guys as well though, and both old and new enemies look really great. There are several bosses in the game too, and although a couple are kinda disappointing, most of them are just as over the top as you'd expect. The music in the game is also top notch. The tunes are clear and upbeat, but at the same time they fit the creepy theme and keep you moving along at a good pace. You can burn through the game in 4 or 5 hours if you know what you're doing, but you'll miss out on a lot of stuff if you do that. Half the fun is collecting all the souls and exploring every hidden room in the castle. And you're rewarded for putting that time in too, because you'll unlock a couple extra game modes. You can play through the game as Julius Belmont, or you can try your skill in boss rush mode. Overall, Dawn of Sorrow is exactly what you'd want from a Castlevania game on the DS. It takes advantage of the power of the system to refine the series even further. And although the touchscreen stuff isn't too compelling, it doesn't get in the way of the game either. The game doesn't do much to distinguish itself from the rest of the series, but the gameplay here is still as fun as it ever was. So it really doesn't matter if you've played the previous games or not, you'll definitely have a lot of fun with this one.